Hey there, it's Leo from Firecrawl, and in this video, we'll be taking a look at the branding format. We have recently updated it so it works better while extracting data from Wix-built websites, Framer, as well as other websites with no-code tools, as there's pretty much a lot of them out there right now. It will also perform better on a logo extraction for overall websites. Now, in case you do not know what our branding format is, you can head over to our playground over at the scrape endpoint, select the branding format, and after you hit start scraping, you should receive all this data, which is colors from that website, font, typography, specific buttons, and you'll understand what is the primary color for that website, the logo, the favicon, OG image, everything that should help you build websites like this one down here. This was actually a website built inside of Lovable, and what you can do inside of it is, let's go over to the homepage. In the homepage, you'll see that we have some different websites here. So if I select Stripe, for example, it starts using the Firecrawl endpoints to search for all the data. You can find company information, industry, headquarters, all of this with our agent endpoint actually, because sometimes this information won't be in the home page. You might not know where to find this information, so the Firecrawl agent should do that for you. And on that note, another thing it could do is find the SEO score, because we don't just search for data, we actually reason through the scraped content, understand if we need more context, fetch for more context until we understand if the SEO score is actually this one. But since this video is around the branding format, let's aim just for that. Inside of Figma, you could click there, click on brand identity, and this is everything that was extracted from Figma. Here they actually use the combination with the screenshot format. But down here, as you can see, we get the color palette, the brand assets, primary font. So honestly, this is already pretty cool, and it's just surface level as it's just using the information retrieved and exposing it over to the front end for whatever user that needs that information. A much better use of this for me is how it figured out the SEO score by looping in an agent, which could be the agent endpoint as well. So it really just comes to show that we can retrieve the brand identity, but what are you going to be able to do with that information? Another use case for this is just attaching this to your Claude Code instance, to Codex, or whatever agentic tool you're using to build your own website. So instead of overthinking what is the identity you want your website to have, you can just repurpose a identity from another website. I wanted to test building something like this with the least amount of prompts, and so I placed this single prompt inside of Lovable. Since we have Firecrawl already configured inside of Lovable, it has more attention to our documentation. It already knows how to expect the output structured data from the branding format. And because of that, everything was placed all correctly here. I really like this design. By the way, leave down in the comment section which design you prefer from all 4 tests. I actually tested Lovable, Replit, Codex, and Claude Code. Instead of Codex, I used GPT Codex 5.3, which is a pretty new LLM, as well as instead of Claude Code, I used Claude Opus 4.6, which is also the most recent Claude LLM. I also specified that I wanted the summary as well as markdown, so it managed to use that as well. You can click on summary, see a summary of the website, content, see a markdown retrieved scrape of firecrawl.dev, as well as links, which is just all of the links that it found across the entire page. Now let's take a look at Replit. Inside of Replit, since they don't have the context from our documentation, it took 2 prompts. So it was the same prompt from Lovable, but then I also had to add our documentation. You can either have Firecrawl fetch for this documentation. It will do a pretty good job at browsing and then finding the website, extracting the documentation from there. But if you already know where the documentation is, you want to feed it over fast to the LLM, an example for the branding format is just heading over to the API reference, clicking on scrape endpoint, selecting copy page, and it should already be in your clipboard, which will contain this right here, which is the branding output. The LLM will understand that inside of this structure, colors will be in here, the logo will be here. Down, you'll find the fonts, typography, all structured exactly like this. And because I fed this over to Replit, it seemed to design something pretty cool. It's a different design. I'm not sure if this is considered neobrutalism, but I honestly really liked it. We have the links section as well. Let me click to show all. Now, both Lovable and Replit have their own system prompt that really goes into the details of testing the app before actually feeding it over to the user. Inside of agentic coding, we don't really have that all done, and it's up to us to feed it context. But since I'm testing exactly what is the output for each one of these tools, I didn't want to pollute whatever it would create by adding these specific instructions. So my prompt is the same one as before. The only thing I added was use Next.js as the framework and always verify updated documentations using the Firecrawl CLI. This is to ensure that every time it uses a third-party app like Firecrawl, which for its context is a third-party app, it will always consider that it should look up for fresh documentations and ensure that in its first try, it actually builds something that we're aiming for, instead of building with deprecated tools and only after the build process discover that it needs to fetch for the documentation. Okay, as soon as I placed this in, on this side Codex, on this side Claude Code, what I received from Codex was this right here. And by the way, no matter how many times you use the same prompt, if you weren't very specific, and even sometimes when you are specific with the design, it will always build something different. But the overall understanding of what should be built is 99% the same thing. I tried building with Codex 3 different times, and every single time it didn't understand that this was for a final user that wouldn't be reading a markdown structured file. And since it didn't understand this in any of the times that I tested, it just came up with all this page that really doesn't really make a lot of sense. As down here, there's a summary and a neobrutalism card. Up here is just really a strange, seems like an SVG. So yeah, designing with Codex wasn't really a cool experience. While with Claude Code, this was the result. It didn't seem to get the screenshot right, but the summary was all correct. It placed the color palette over here. Typography, it even played around with showing the different sizes of the font. Down here, we have the spacing components. There's a really awkward blank space here, which seems to be created from Claude since like forever. We have links listed here, content preview, which is really not that great. But at least with Opus, we got much closer to the end results. Again, this video isn't about comparing and saying that one tool is better than the other, one LLM is better than the other. It's to show how much context is important and how empowering your agent with web data APIs such as Firecrawl is the right approach. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Till then.